when it comes to substance addiction, I was a late bloomer. Kind of with everything. Like in high school, I didn't drink or do drugs or anything like that. It all happened after I left high school. In high school, I was pretty straight. You know, I mean, occasionally, once in a while, I'd take a shot of something at a party just to, if someone was passing something around, just to kind of fit in. But it wasn't until, I don't know, I was like 19 that I started drinking. And I started because one night before a show in Boston, in Kenmore Square, I was in a band. And like always, like I've always been, like I've been most of my life. And my guitar player was like, you nervous? And I'm like, no, not really. And he's like, well, try the shot. It was brandy. And I said, take a few shots, it'll relax you. So I'm like, all right. And it relaxed me, but it was also nice. I was like, oh, yeah. You know, I'd never been drunk before at that point. So we used to play a lot. And that turned into every time we played, I'd take a shot and a beer. And then after the show, I started drinking beers. And then arriving at the gig, after sound check or something, having a couple beers. And then I just became like an alcohol drinker. It just kind of happened that way. Then as time went on, got a little older, and I was still, you know, using it for when I did gigs, or because I'm not a natural kind of entertainer type person. I'm not the kind of guy that naturally would get on stage and talk to an audience. I'm just looking for my cigarettes right here. I really shouldn't have put them in this bag. Why did I do that? Why am I like this? Are they even in the bag? Why am I putting you through this? But anyway, so as I got older, you know, you get into the 90s, or, well, actually, I think the 90s I took off. I took most of the 90s off from music, because when I got into it, well, I'm not going to get into the whole fucking thing. Point is, yeah, when I finally came back to music, started playing clubs again, it just evolved into harder stuff. Somewhere along the way, I tried marijuana. It took a couple times for it to really hit me, as is the case with a lot of drugs. Like the first time I try something, it usually goes over my head, like, because I don't know, like my body doesn't know how to feel about it. And see how long I can stay out here without being moved along. If you know, you know. But oh, right away, okay, right away. Came in with me this time. But so as I got older, things got more intense, you know. But I was late again. Like with weed, I didn't start smoking weed till I was like 22, 23. Excuse me. Then cocaine was like 25, 26, around that area. And then cocaine was like the one that kind of opened the floodgates. Because I always looked at cocaine differently than beer or weed, you know. Cocaine was, to me, it was like a hard drug. Like, you were a drug addict if you did cocaine. So once it was like, I tried that, liked it, did it a couple times, it was like, oh, I'll take off the bathroom doors, it's a party now, you know what I mean? I was up for anything. And that led into pretty much the end of the 90s going into the early 2000s with doing everything. Everything. Like, I'd have an easier time naming things I didn't try. I'd never had mescaline or peyote or anything like that, just because it wasn't around. Quaaludes, same thing. Quaaludes, Ganquail, Illuminati confirmed, because it was, you know, not around by the time I started doing that kind of stuff. And PCP, Angel dust. Never did that. Don't want to do it. Don't want to do it. My sister did it once by mistake, so it was awful. Oh, funny. But, yeah, so doing shows, being in band all the time with little breaks in between. And I was always kind of doing gigs, and it would always start the same, show up at the gig if I had a sound check, do a sound check, but start drinking immediately. I'd always get Heppenreckers. What's a Heppenrecker? Oh shit, it's like I got a cross? Is that a cross? Wow. Dude's got a cross. Wow, that's awesome. Where's he going with that, I wonder? Is that a sign? Of course it is. Everything's a sign. Wow. They handed out like Jesus stuff? That's fucking cool, actually. Oh, anyway. The fucking sidetrack there by a man carrying his cross. We're all carrying our own cross. Right now I'm carrying the cross of my 7-0 addiction. That man's carrying an actual cross. But yeah, so it was just, it was a thing where I would need that to perform, to be in front of people. And then beyond that, talking to people. Because sometimes I wasn't just going out to do a show. We'd have to go to different stuff. Just different things you have to do when you're in a band. Social kind of thing. Sometimes other people's shows. Or like, radio stuff or whatever stupid promotional shit that you do, college radio stuff all the time. There's always something to do to try to promote yourself. It's always the name of the game. But so yeah, it was only when I left music did I clean up. I cleaned up. I've talked about that before with the help of Glenn at the Comic Book Palace. He didn't know he was helping me do this, but instead of going out, well, the big thing was leaving music aside. Basically, the band I was in, we were splitting it up, and usually I'd jump right into a new project, but this time I didn't. And I basically stayed in my house, right? Well, here's the bad side of it. I stayed in my house, right? Stayed off drugs, stayed off drinking, and then turns out all that self-medicating was masking severe mental health issues that I'd always had. That when I was younger, right, like a kid, because I've had some of this stuff when I was a kid, I just didn't recognize it for what it was. I had little things I would do to work with it, to work around it. I developed coping mechanisms and just tried to look as normal as I could, act as normal as I could. When I started doing substances like drinking, doing drugs and stuff, it was like a shield. It kind of hid all those symptoms. And I kind of forgot all these kind of coping mechanisms that I used to use. So when I came off all the stuff and wasn't doing drugs anymore, it all came roaring back. And I didn't know how to handle it because I'd forgotten all my little tricks I had. And that's when I ended up in the first time in the psych ward because of it. So, one step up, step and a half back. But I thought about a lot of times, like, and this all only just came up today because I figured about my 7-0 situation, which I'm still in. It's like every day it's like tomorrow's the last day, today's the last day, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna get one more 10-pack and I'm gonna use it to wean off. Turns out, this might be surprise, but to quit drugs, the worst thing you can do is buy more drugs. Buying drugs to quit drugs, I guess, doesn't happen. And I call it drugs too, even though and I'll call it that at the shop too, and people get like, it's like, well, that's what it is, It's probably the deadliest thing that I've ever encountered through a head shop. I know there are other kinds of stuff like flakka and synthetic weed, and there's like all kinds of gas station stuff you can get that's will get addict you. But I mean, this stuff is not very far away from opioids. I feel like I'm, doing pills again. That I am doing pills, just different kind of pills. How long can I stay here without someone needing to be where I am? Actually, it hasn't been bad aside from that first guy. I intended this video to be like a little 10-minute thing because I'm still editing one, and I thought it'd be, probably wouldn't get one out today because I had to edit about my editing to do. So I'll do a 10-minute one about addiction. How are you going to do that? Yeah, I'll do a 10-minute video about addiction. I'm going to wrap the whole thing up, and I'm going to settle it. So by the time I'm done, it's settled science. But yeah, what ultimately what all this strum and drang here is that I got to thinking about what drives me to run to substances. Because even though like I'm dealing with the 7-0 thing right now, I still have this. Cigarettes. Coffee. I need to constantly be drinking coffee. The powder kratom, which I've been on for years now. So that you add 7-0 on top of that, that's like 4 substances I'm currently taking every day. And if I don't have them, I kind of have a little freak out. My body starts freaking out. That's not good. And I go back and forth between, I got to get everything and just get rid of it and put aside to thinking, all right, well, I'm always going to be like this. I'm always going to have, this kind of thing. And people like me are, just stuck with this kind of stuff. That's the excuse. That's the excuse to keep doing it. It's like, well, my favorite writers and this philosopher got like I'm anything like any of these people. I'm not. But I kind of use them as an excuse for, well, they did it, and, they had to, cope with it. That's, you find any kind of excuse. You find the dumbest bullshit thing. Like me saying, I'm going to buy some more just to wean off. It's fucking stupid. Yeah, I don't know. Now you're stuck with me because I'm going to finish this before I go in. Yeah, I'm just trying to put a little more work into each. I'm not going to get into my creative part. I'm not Peter Gabrieling you. But I'm trying to make the episodes a little bit longer and a little bit more substantial. Basically, for the past 3 years, as I get into my creative process that I just said I wasn't going to get into, I've been pretty much pumping a video out a day. And sometimes this isn't any kind of deadline, this is one I imposed on myself. After years of taking way too long recording music, recording album stuff, I was like, look, if you're doing something creative, you got to find that marriage between getting it good, but not strangling it. So it was a kind of self-imposed thing of, get one out a day. The problem is, I watch some of those videos, and I'm just like, oh man, I spelled these words wrong. I had the subconscious talking to me. He wouldn't, I might spell the words wrong, but I can't have him misspelling the words. Or Satan, he's not going to misspell the words. He's pretty smart. He's more clever than smart. Especially our Satan. He's really not all that smart. Sorry, Lou. But yeah, so I'm thinking that, it'd be good to spend more time on these things. And maybe put them out every other day. Something New Edge Designs told me to do 2 years ago. But I didn't heed his warning. I'm not good at heeding warnings. Like, in the case of 7-0. Should listen to Corey. Should listen to a lot of people. But, I didn't. So it's like, yeah. So I'm trying to do that. But as I'm doing it now, I'm editing upstairs. I'm like, this isn't going to be done for today. Let me just do a quick walk on the way to the store. And I'll talk about something light, like addiction. So I think, in conclusion, I've solved addiction. So if you're having problems with it, just watch this video again, and it will explain how to get out of it. How you doing, man?
Good. How about you?
How's it going?
Good. Good.
You notice my door's the only one not painted? Dude, this door saga has been going on for, what, a year now?
Why did they say?
They've been to my house 6 times. Well, because what happens, I think they come up and they see the door ajar. Because I like to get the air in there. I had to open up a window just so but anyway, point is, they see it and they don't want to do it because it's ajar. But then if I close it all the way and wait for them, it never happens. So, yeah. It's, you know, first world problems. First world problems. Have a good night, man. Yeah, so I'm glad it could solve substance addiction. And it's good to solve it because if you don't, you end up like this. Let me out. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.